That was the first thing. Then two other events were both revolutions. One was the French Revolution, which suddenly meant that the man at the bottom of the pile felt he had as much right as the lords and the ladies of this world. So therefore he felt he had the right to consume like the lords and the ladies. And the third thing was the American Revolution, which really provided a methodology for that thinking to be translated into reality. So a person at the bottom of the pile could climb up right up to the top. It seems it's more or less literally happened in the last 3 or 4 years in the US, as you know. Anyway, so this started doing things. There was a huge amount of production, huge amount of consumption, and man really thought, well, you know, we aren't going to affect the environment. We are part of the world and nothing will happen. Except that as far back as 1872, the first acid rain was discovered in the UK, and really that was the first warning sign. We should have known that we were already beginning to affect the environment, and this is 139 years ago. Since then, of course, a lot of other things happened. Pierre and Marie Curie came along and discovered radiation. Oppenheimer, with his Manhattan Project, blew the first bomb in Nevada. And therefore, of course, we went down a path of sort of mutual destruction, more or less, as some of you would remember in 1962. And then, obviously, we went through a mechanical age, then a computer core age, and then it became a digitalized one, and now I think it's down to nanotechnology. I remember in my first month at Unilever, this would be 1983, the accounts used to be sent by teleprinter to the UK. And of course, then a few years later, the fax came, which speeded up things, then the email came, which speeded up things, and now, of course, you can drop everything online, and so, you know, things have just changed. Okay, so what is all this doing? What all this is doing is that corporations, rather shareholders, hire people like me to deliver profits. And when there's pressure on me to deliver profits, I make the people who work for me run after the profits. How do they deliver profits? By causing growth to happen. So, and Engro Foods is a classic example of that. We started with zero sale in March 2006. Today we are 30 billion. And we are the leaders in liquid dairy and selling over 1 million liters a day. That's the amount of milk being moved around, over 1 million liters a day. Think of the number of trucks, the number of machines, the amount of energy used up, and God knows what else. When I was at Pepsi, Pepsi went through 27 quarters of reporting higher profit than the last quarter. And I resigned at the end of the 11th one, I think. I remember the intensity of pressure which used to come on near the quarter end to deliver extra profits more than the last quarter. And how would I do it? Obviously, I would push sale into the market. That means I would produce more, and therefore I would consume more energy, etc. And there's this cycle of growth driven by stock exchanges, leading to consumption. Then we advertise on TV, so people see it on TV, so they go and eat more or consume more. Therefore, they have to go and earn more. If they have to go and earn more, therefore they will have to produce more. And this is a cycle which has been ongoing for 200 years. And all we have done is we have really destroyed this world. I'm as much to blame, and I can tell you a lot of you and the likes of you are also to blame. There was a Hindu sadhu who used to live at the foot of the Himalayas. I think he's still alive. Back in the early 1950s, he said, I sort of felt something was happening to the mountains. I couldn't figure it out, but he said I could see that something was happening. So I took a photograph of myself in 1952 at the snow line. Subsequently, for 11 11 times every 5 years, 1957, 62, 67, and so on and so forth, right up to 2007. He kept taking his photograph at the snow line. Between 1952 and 2007, and these are proper photographs, obviously, so that's proof. The snow line has gone up about a third. That's how much snow has already melted. I think if the picture of the Arctic was shown, Greenland is more or less the same. On record, there are videos of huge lakes 4 or 5 miles across disappearing within 40 minutes. CNN, BBC both have recorded that. What happens is the snow melts at the bottom, there's a hole, and the whole water just drops through like a funnel down to the bottom. As it falls to the bottom, the ice cap gets lifted, and the water starts acting like grease, and the ice cap starts drifting towards the sea, and then huge portions of the ice cap just melt, break off, and flow off into the sea, never to come back again. 50 square miles of ice cap broke off last year in the summer alone, one event in Greenland. What is that doing to the world? This is your reflective territory. All the sun's rays which come through hit Greenland, the Arctic, and then they reflect off into the atmosphere, a lot of it. As this ice disappears, the world will attract more and more of this heat. This is a vicious cycle. The seas are going to rise. If anyone of you have seen Al Gore's movie, you would know that Manhattan would disappear. Half of Holland would disappear. 60% of Bangladesh would disappear. A lot of Karachi's coastline would disappear. Defense aid will not exist in maybe 30, 40, 50 years. So if you're building houses there, be careful. That's what we are doing to the world. And we are merrily going along doing it. Now, of course, because of the economic problems, we haven't been able to even get a protocol together. There is a Bali protocol which is on the table, but it's not being agreed by anyone. China has its own interest, India has its own interest, USA has its own interest. Pakistan happens to be a tiny little thing. We are number 27, I think, in our emissions in the world. But we will be one of the biggest affected people. Things are happening in the world. The monsoon is moving. The monsoon is moving eastwards, which means Pakistan is going to get less rain most of the time. There will be years like last year, but generally you're going toward drought. A lot of the urban centers will be in the middle of a desert. Maybe at the tail end of my life if I live long enough, but definitely some of the young people, you will see that in your lifetime. The glaciers are melting. As they melt, they will cause floods at the early part of the year, so April or May, and then they will disappear in the summer. So you aren't going to have water. That is a reality of climate change. I go around giving speeches in the schools. One of the things I used to say, there will come a time when you will kill your neighbor for a glass of water. I used to think, well, that's far away. As so happened, 2 years ago, there was a drought in India, and in Bombay and in Surat, 9 neighbors killed each other for water. This is a real event. Just for water. Because, of course, that's the very basis of life. So this is our story. Very unfortunate story. As I said, I've been lecturing now for 15 years on this. I was very fortunate that I had a class fellow, Simi Kamal, who's one of the more well-known Pakistani environmentalists, and she sort of made me aware some 17, 18 years ago of what we are doing. And so I caught on to it. I've been working on it. This pattern is going to be, you're going to get floods and you're going to get droughts. This will happen here, it will happen in India, it will happen in China, the Himalayan rivers, the 2 in China, the 3 in the subcontinent,